Welcome to my channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe. As soon as the man woke up from cryogenic sleep, the first person he saw was his former alien wife. The first sensation was cold, not the crisp kind that stung the skin and sharpened the lungs, but a deep and ancient cold, the sort that clung to the marrow and whispered that it had lived in his bones longer than memory itself. Kael coughed, though the sound came out more like a cracked violin string. His eyelids fluttered, sticky with frost, and the ceiling above him shimmered like glass underwater. For one panicked second he thought he had drowned. That cryogenic sleep was just a clever name for dying slow. Then the glass hissed open, air flooded in, and he gasped as though the universe itself had pressed restart on his lungs. "Easy," came a voice. Kael turned his head, neck joints protesting with a crunch, and the first face he saw in centuries appeared beside him. The ears were longer than human, graceful arcs that caught the sterile light, and the eyes, those impossible silver eyes, looked at him with a mixture of terror and relief. "No," Kael croaked, his lips numb. "No, you're not real. Hallucination. Side effect. Definitely not you." The figure smiled faintly, though her hands trembled as she reached to steady him. "Kael." His heart seized, not from the cryo fluid still in his veins, not from the shock of awakening, but from the way she said his name. He'd heard it like that before, long ago, in another life that had ended when she had left. "Lyrana," he whispered, then immediately winced. "Figures. My first sight after centuries asleep is my ex-universe has a cruel sense of humor." Her laugh was too soft to be mocking, too fragile to be smug. "You haven't changed." Kael coughed again, this time with more voice. "Excuse me. I've changed plenty. My hairline is gone. My skin feels like reheated leftovers, and I'm pretty sure I smell like freezer-burnt pizza." He tried to sit up, then groaned when his muscles screamed mutiny. "Great. I survived centuries in a popsicle just to be defeated by gravity." She supported him, her movements cautious, as if she feared he might shatter at the slightest pressure. The stasis was longer than expected. "You need time." "Longer than expected?" "Lady, last I checked, stasis was supposed to be a nice long nap. Not, however long it's been." His eyes narrowed. "How long has it been?" Her gaze flickered, silver eyes shifting like restless moons. She didn't answer. Kael barked a laugh that quickly devolved into a wheeze. "Oh, that's comforting. Wake up, get no breakfast, and get stone-walled by my ex-wife. Some things never change." The chamber around him hummed with unfamiliar life. Machines hovered silently in the periphery, their designs too sleek, too alien for the labs he remembered. One drone drifted closer, blinking with a cheerful blue light. "Welcome back, user designation Kael." It chirped in a voice far too enthusiastic for the occasion. "Please note, cellular degeneration is within survivable range. Probability of death in the next 12 hours, only 42%. Kael glared at it. 42%? Wow, optimism really went extinct while I was asleep. The drone tilted in what might have been an apologetic bow. "Would you like a hydration packet? Flavor, approximate orange." He sighed. "Approximate orange? That's not a flavor, that's a lawsuit." Lyrana gently pushed the drone aside. "He doesn't need your chatter." Kael's laugh returned, raspy but real. "Still bossing everyone around, huh? Some things really never change." His gaze lingered on her longer now, tracing features he once knew better than his own reflection. Her skin was flawless, her hair a cascade untouched by time, her ears as sharp as blades yet trembling, as if caught between pride and shame. She looked exactly as she had when she walked away from him centuries ago, and he hated that he still wanted to reach for her. "So," he said finally, his voice brittle, "you gonna tell me why I'm awake, and why the first face I see belongs to the woman who decided intergalactic ghosting was a good marital strategy?" Lyrana's lips parted, but no sound came. Then softly, "Because I never stopped waiting for you." The words stabbed deeper than the cold. Kael wanted to laugh them off, wanted to raise a shield of sarcasm and bury himself beneath it. But all he managed was a weak shake of his head. "You've had centuries to come up with a better line. That's what you're opening with." Her smile quivered, I thought it might still matter. He looked away, out past the edge of the pod, where the world beyond seemed to stretch into endless chrome corridors and distant stars. Somewhere, machines hummed and whispered, technology centuries beyond his time. The future had arrived while he slept, and all he could think about was the past standing right beside him. Great, Kael muttered. Woke up to find out the universe moved on without me. And somehow, so did my wife, except she didn't. He coughed again, pulling the thin sheet tighter around himself. Fine. Start talking. Where am I? How long was I in the freezer? And why do you look like you haven't aged a day while I feel like microwaved leftovers? Her silver gaze didn't waver, because time was crueler to you than it was to me. Kael chuckled dryly. Oh, perfect. Just what I needed, cryptic alien poetry. Yeah, this'll be fun. The drone zipped back, interrupting the silence. Hydration packet declined. Would user prefer approximate grape? Kael groaned. I swear, if that thing doesn't shut up, I'm going right back in the pod. But he knew, as Lyrana reached to silence the machine with a flick of her hand, that no pod in existence could ever put him back to sleep now. Not with her standing there. Not with old wounds reopening under sterile lights. Not with centuries of questions pressing down on them both like the cold he had just escaped. And despite everything, his anger, his confusion, his bitterness, Kael realized with a sinking heart that some part of him was glad it was her. Kael discovered that walking after centuries of cryo-sleep was a cruel comedy in itself. His legs wobbled like badly programmed androids. His knees refused to agree on a direction, and more than once he had to lean on Lyrana just to avoid kissing the shiny metallic floor. Relax, she said, her tone soothing. Relax. Kael groaned. I just time-traveled through centuries, and my knees have unionized. Relax is not on the menu. The corridor stretched ahead in perfect symmetry, walls of shifting alloy that rippled faintly like liquid whenever his hand brushed them. Strange glyphs floated on the surfaces, rearranging themselves whenever Lyrana passed by, as if the station itself recognized her. Kael frowned. Okay, either the walls like you more than me, or I'm hallucinating alphabet soup in 3D. The station responds to its command authority, she explained, steadying him when he stumbled again. Right, so you're the queen bee, and I'm the confused worker drone. Makes sense. He didn't miss the way she smiled at his jab, though the smile barely reached her eyes. The station seemed alive. Drones zipped overhead carrying trays of glowing containers. Doors melted into existence and disappeared without seams. Kael passed what looked suspiciously like a vending machine, though it projected a holographic menu that mocked his choice of nutrient sticks. You sure you want those? The hologram asked in a disapproving tone. They taste like regret and cardboard. Kael squinted. Are you seriously body-shaming my snack choices? The hologram folded its arms. I'm protecting your taste buds from assault. He waved it off. This future sucks. Lyrana chuckled softly. It's not all bad. Easy for you to say. You've been living here, all sleek and ageless. Meanwhile, I wake up looking like an expired TV dinner, and even the snack machines are judging me. They entered a chamber larger than the cryo bay. A vast dome stretched above, revealing a view of the cosmos outside. A swollen red star pulsing in slow agony. Fragments of asteroids glittering around it like a broken crown. Kael stopped in his tracks. Okay, that's not Earth. No, Lyrana said. This is the Horus Relay. It orbits a star in its final phase. Kael's eyes widened. You parked me next to a dying sun. Great, because nothing says welcome back like surprise. You're living beside a ticking stellar time bomb. She didn't flinch. It's stable enough. Stable enough, he repeated, shaking his head. That's the kind of phrase that gets printed on people's tombstones. They moved on, Kael still clinging to sarcasm as if it were oxygen. Along the way, he noticed how other figures, aliens of varied shapes, some humanoid, others more unsettling, glanced at him with surprise or suspicion. Long ears, bioluminescent markings, even a gelatinous being sloshing in a containment suit. He muttered to Lyrana under his breath. Great. Not only am I the only human here, I'm also the only one without a cool upgrade. Look at that guy. He's basically a walking lava lamp. And me? I'm the bald relic who can barely stand upright. She suppressed another smile. You were always difficult. Correction. I was always charmingly difficult. Big difference. Eventually, they entered a quieter chamber, filled with floating screens. Images of distant planets, shifting star charts, and fragments of news feeds streamed by. Lyrana gestured, and one screen froze to display a timeline that spanned centuries. While you slept, she began. Humanity expanded. The colonies thrived for a time, but wars followed. Empires rose and fell. Borders shifted across stars. Your Earth. She hesitated. Kael raised an eyebrow. Don't tell me. Blown up by space termites. No. It still exists, but it is different. Corporations carved it into districts. The oceans were harvested. Few remain who live there by choice. Kael winced. I miss the good old days when our biggest problem was traffic and bad politicians. Her expression dimmed, but she continued. I searched for you. The pod was lost when a corporate fleet collapsed. By the time I traced it, centuries had passed. I tried every method to bring you back. Kael studied her carefully. So, let me get this straight. I was supposed to wake up sooner, but thanks to interstellar bureaucracy, I got stuck in freezer limbo. And now I'm here, centuries late to the party, while you've been what? Running errands for this place? Building a new life? Something in her gaze flickered, as if the truth sat heavy behind her lips, but refused to be freed. Kael smirked to cover the sting. Well, at least you didn't remarry a lava lamp. That earned him an actual laugh. For a moment, the years between them vanished, and he saw the woman he had once fallen in love with, the one who teased him about his awful cooking and his tendency to fall asleep mid-story. But the moment passed quickly, swallowed by the weight of everything unspoken. A drone zipped in suddenly, breaking the silence. Alert! Nutritional stabilization required. Subject Kael must consume sustenance within 30 minutes to avoid collapse. Kael glared. Are you my doctor or my mother? The drone's light blinked. Yes. He groaned. Fantastic. Babysat by Siri's sarcastic cousin. Lyrana stepped closer. You should eat. Fine, Kael muttered. But if this approximate grape tastes anything like approximate orange, I'm suing the future. They walked again, his sarcasm filling the air like static, her silence heavy with things she hadn't yet told him. Outside the dome, the dying star pulsed like a heartbeat, slow and ominous. Kael tried not to think about how it mirrored the strange, unsteady rhythm inside his own chest every time he looked at her. Because for all the jokes and banter, one truth gnawed at him. She hadn't told him everything. And until she did, the cold from the pod would never truly leave his bones. Kael sat at a circular table that hovered a few centimeters off the floor, staring down at a tray of what looked like fluorescent jelly cubes. They wobbled faintly with each vibration of the station, giving the unsettling impression that his lunch was breathing. This, he said flatly, isn't food. This is a prop from a horror movie. Lyrana sat across from him, her posture impossibly composed. She sipped from a crystalline tube of shimmering liquid, as if it were the most natural thing in the galaxy. It contains everything your body requires. Yeah, so does motor oil, Kael muttered. He poked one of the cubes with a finger. It clung to him like a guilty conscience. Nope, I'm not eating that. I'd rather starve. The hovering drone at his side beeped. Subject Kael, your caloric deficit has reached. Don't you dare finish that sentence, Kael snapped. You already ruined my day with your 42% chance of death. Don't start calculating how fast I'll wither away if I refuse alien jello. The drone bobbed, lights flickering in what Kael swore was smug satisfaction. Lyrana's lips curved faintly. You used to complain about my cooking too. That's because you used to serve me things that looked exactly like this, Kael said, lifting the cube with a dramatic grimace. Don't think I forgot your recipe for nutrient stew. I loved you, but not enough to forgive that crime against taste buds. Her laugh was quick, almost surprised, and for a moment Kael basked in it, though he quickly covered the warmth with more sarcasm. He shoved the cube into his mouth, chewed twice, then gagged. Yep, still terrible. Centuries pass, technology evolves, but somehow bad food survives. Truly humanity's greatest legacy. Lyrana's expression softened, but her eyes, those silver eyes, betrayed a weight pressing behind them. She set down her drink carefully, as though every movement needed rehearsing. Kael, there is something you must know. Oh, he said, pointing at her. That's the tone. That's the same tone you used right before you told me your parents wanted me to join their annual Hunt the Space Beast holiday. What am I in for this time? Mandatory karaoke night. Her lips pressed together. You think this is a game? I think I just got defrosted after centuries. My ex-wife is suddenly my tour guide, and I'm surrounded by vending machines with better social skills than me. If I don't joke, I'll scream. She flinched just slightly. Then she leaned forward. I wasn't simply waiting while you slept. I was part of something larger. A movement. A rebellion. Kael raised his brows. Oh, great. So while I was in cold storage, you were off starring in a galactic revolution. What's next? You tell me you're secretly the queen of the long-eared space elves. I fought for freedom. Against the consortium. The Who. The corporate empire that controls half the known stars. They. Her words faltered. She glanced toward the walls, as though expecting them to listen. They would have destroyed you if they had known what you were. Kael blinked. What I was? I was a guy who fixed ship engines and couldn't boil water without setting off the fire alarm. That's what I was. Unless cryo sleep gives you superpowers, I'm still just me. Her silence was deafening. Kael leaned back, throwing his hands up. Oh, wonderful. Cryptic silence again. You know, for someone with ears that long, you're awfully bad at listening. A sharp beep interrupted them. The table's surface lit up, displaying a flickering alert in multiple languages Kael couldn't understand. Lyrana stiffened. We need to move. Kael glanced at the glowing message. What's it say? Warning. Awkward marital discussion reaching critical mass. Her gaze locked on his. We're under attack. The walls shuddered as if to punctuate her words. Distant booms reverberated through the station, the sound of weapons striking shields. Kael gripped the table instinctively. Well, that didn't take long. 2 chapters in, and we're already in the middle of an action sequence. Drones zipped overhead, their blue lights flashing crimson. A voice thundered across the chamber. All personnel, prepare for boarding protocols. Kael staggered to his feet, his legs still jelly. Fantastic. I just learned how to walk again, and now I get to run from aliens. Truly, the universe is committed to my cardio. Lyrana pulled him along, her movements precise and urgent. The corridor around them shifted, walls sliding open to reveal defense turrets that hummed to life. Kael stumbled as the floor beneath them tilted from another impact. Seriously, he gasped. What are we dealing with? Pirates? Angry space tax collectors? Galactic Jehovah's Witnesses? Lyrana didn't answer, too focused on navigating the station's changing pathways. Doors sealed behind them, sealing off the chaos, though distant echoes of battle still reached them. Kael struggled to keep up. You know, when I said I wanted more excitement in our marriage, this isn't what I had in mind. Despite the chaos, her lips twitched. You always said you wanted adventure. Yeah, the safe kind. The kind with guided tours and snack breaks. They turned a corner and found a viewport stretching across the hall. Kael froze, breath catching at the sight outside. A fleet of jagged ships surrounding the station, black holes gleaming with unnatural light. He swallowed hard. Well, those don't look friendly. They're not, Lyrana confirmed, pulling him onward. Kael sighed. Figures. My first week back from cryo, and someone already wants me dead. Can't I just ease into the future with a nice beach vacation and some questionable cocktails? The station shuddered again, lights flickering overhead. Drones zipped past them, armed now with glowing plasma emitters. Kael muttered to himself. Yep, definitely not cocktails. And as Lyrana dragged him deeper into the heart of the station, Kael couldn't shake the gnawing suspicion that this wasn't a random attack, that somehow, impossibly, the enemy outside had come for him. Kael sprinted, or more accurately, flailed, in the general direction Lyrana dragged him, his legs still performing like outdated hydraulics. The station rocked with another impact, sending him tumbling into a wall that politely absorbed the blow by reshaping itself into a cushion. "Okay," he wheezed. "Credit where it's due, self-adjusting walls? Brilliant idea. Where were these when I tripped over laundry baskets at home?" Lyrana didn't slow, her silver eyes flashing as she scanned the shifting corridors. "Keep moving." "Moving is happening," Kael gasped, stumbling after her. Effortlessly? Not so much. The corridor lit with warning glyphs, crimson symbols racing along the walls. A siren howled in tones that reminded Kael uncomfortably of an angry whale. He clutched his ears. Oh great! Not only are we under attack, we also get the soothing soundtrack of space whales in labor. A drone zipped overhead, speaking in the same cheerful voice Kael had already grown to hate. "Alert! Hostile boarding parties detected. Probability of survival if you remain stationary, 8%. Kael groaned. And here I thought the walls were bad at motivational speeches. Lyrana pushed him into a chamber that seemed to double as both a command post and an armory. Panels unfolded to reveal racks of sleek weapons humming with energy. Without hesitation, she armed herself, the weapon reshaping in her grip as if molded by her will. Kael eyed the rack warily. "Yeah, see, that's intimidating. It knows what you want. If I pick one up, it's probably going to turn into a butter knife." "You'll need something," she said, tossing a smaller weapon his way. He caught it clumsily, staring at the glowing cylinder. "Okay, but does this come with an instruction manual? Or at least a don't point at your own face sticker?" She ignored his quip, already focused on the doorway, where shadows flickered. Kael reluctantly tightened his grip, muttering, "Great. First week back, and I'm about to shoot myself with a space stapler." The doors hissed open. Figures poured in, armored, faceless, their movements unervingly precise. Lyrana was a blur of light, her weapon singing arcs of plasma that cut down the first wave before Kael even managed to lift his arm. Kael stammered, fumbling with the cylinder. "Little help. Just squeeze," she shouted. He squeezed. The weapon spat a bolt of sizzling energy that ricocheted off the ceiling and nearly hit a drone. The drone scolded him mid-battle. "Warning, friendly fire is discouraged. Tell that to my shaky hands." Kael snapped, firing again. This time, luck favored him, and one of the invaders collapsed in a heap of smoking armor. Kael blinked. Okay. Did everyone see that? I am officially dangerous." Another invader charged him. Kael screamed, flailed wildly, and fired 5 shots, missing 4 times before the last bolt clipped the attacker. He panted. Accuracy, terrible. Enthusiasm, unmatched. Lyrana dispatched the rest with ruthless efficiency, her movements fluid, controlled, terrifying. Kael, sweating and panting, lowered his weapon. "Right. So, you're basically a galactic ninja, and I'm the comic relief." "Noted." She didn't answer. She was already listening to the station, to the vibrations of more boots approaching. Kael leaned against the wall, groaning. "You know, I pictured my post-cryogenic life differently. Less laser fire, more naps." The drone zipped closer. Suggestion, proceed to the inner core. Probability of survival increases to 21%. 21. Kael said, exasperated. "That's supposed to make me feel better? That's like being told your parachute has a 1 in 5 chance of working." Lyrana pulled him forward. No time. They weaved through collapsing corridors, the station shifting to block intruders, walls sealing like clenched fists. Kael tripped over his own feet twice, once nearly dragging Lyrana down with him. "Sorry," he puffed. "My legs are still catching up. They didn't exactly get a warm-up lap before the apocalypse." "You're doing fine," she said without looking back. "That is the most generous lie I've ever heard," he muttered. Another explosion rattled the floor, nearly throwing them off balance. Through a viewport, Kael caught sight of the enemy fleet closing in, their ships linking beams of energy that pulsed against the station's shields. He pointed. I'm just gonna say it, that looks bad. Like, final season cliffhanger bad. Lyrana ignored the comment, activating a panel that spiraled open into a narrow lift. They stepped inside, and the platform shot downward with stomach-churning speed. Kael clung to the railing. Okay. Next time, maybe a seat belt? Or a parachute? Or a priest? The lift halted in a chamber alive, with glowing conduits. Energy thrummed through the air like a heartbeat. Lyrana's expression grew grim. They're after the core. Kael squinted. The big shiny thing that keeps us from exploding. Yes, of course. Why go for the vending machines when you can aim for the self-destruct button of the whole station? Another tremor shook the chamber. Drones swarmed in, defensive units with heavier weapons than Kael had ever seen. The chamber lit up with tactical overlays, schematics glowing across the floor. Kael, overwhelmed, raised his hands. Look, I'm just the unfrozen guy. I don't know tactics, I don't know your enemies, and I definitely don't know why they keep trying to kill us. Lyrana's hand brushed his arm. You're alive. That's why. The words hit harder than the tremors. Kael stared at her, trying to decipher whether that was comfort, confession, or another piece of the mystery she still wasn't explaining. But before he could press her, the doors blasted open again. Another wave of attackers stormed in, weapons blazing. Kael raised his cylinder, muttering to himself, Okay, here we go. Don't die. Don't shoot your own foot. Don't embarrass yourself more than usual. He fired wildly. Lyrana cut through the chaos with terrifying grace, and the drones unleashed coordinated barrages. The chamber filled with light, smoke, and the deafening roar of battle. And somewhere, beneath the adrenaline and fear, Kael realized he wasn't just surviving. He was fighting alongside her again. The thought both thrilled and terrified him, because if this was what the universe had in store, he wasn't sure if waking up had been a miracle or a curse. Kael sat on the edge of the scorched platform, weapon dangling loosely in his hands, lungs heaving like broken engines. Around him, the core chamber still hummed, the conduits flickering back to life after the last attacker had fallen. Drones zipped about to contain damage, their voices chirping status reports that sounded far too cheerful for the devastation. Congratulations, Subject Kael. One of them trilled. You did not perish. Kael coughed, half laughing. Put that on my gravestone. Did not perish. For now. Lyrana lowered herself beside him, her face pale but steady. She carried no wounds, yet the weight in her eyes was heavier than blood. It's over. For now. For now. Kael echoed, staring at the pulsing glow of the core. Funny. That phrase doesn't exactly scream happily ever after. She didn't answer immediately. Her gaze traced the conduits, the walls, the silent aftermath. Finally she said, You were never supposed to be part of this war. I tried to keep you out of it. Kael turned to her, frowning. By letting me sleep through it all? That's your big plan. Just tuck me in with a blanket and hope the galaxy forgets me? Yes. The word was sharp, then softer. Because they wanted you. You don't understand, Kael. Your cryogenic program wasn't just about preservation. The consortium believed you carried something, knowledge, potential, a code hidden in your genetic pattern. You were a target before you ever stepped into that pod. Kael blinked. Wait. You're telling me I spent centuries as a glorified USB stick? That's the big mystery. I'm the galaxy's most fragile thumb drive. A laugh slipped from her despite herself. You make it sound absurd. It is absurd. But hey, at least it explains why everyone wants to shoot me. I've got premium software in my DNA. Shame no one gave you the password. Her smile faded. I left because staying would have doomed you. They knew we were bonded. If I stayed, they would have taken you sooner. The words hit him harder than any blast. He stared at her, the truth finally settling where anger had lived. All those years, no, centuries, he had thought she abandoned him. But she had been running, not away from him, but for him. Kael chuckled dryly, though his eyes burned. So you broke my heart to keep me alive. That's not exactly the romantic gesture I had in mind. Lyrana's ears trembled. the way they always had when she fought emotion. I never stopped waiting. He wanted to be bitter, to cling to the old wounds. But after all they'd just survived, the attacks, the truths, the absurd vending machines, he felt something different rising in him. Acceptance. Maybe even forgiveness. Fine, Kael said, forcing a crooked grin. You win. You're still terrible at cooking, but you're a champion at self-sacrifice. Guess I'll keep you. Her laughter, light and unguarded, broke the tension like sunlight through clouds. The drone hovered closer, blinking. New probability calculation. With both subjects cooperating, chances of survival rise to 62%. Kael rolled his eyes. Finally, some good news. Nothing says romance like a coin flip on survival. They rose together, the chamber settling into uneasy calm. Outside, the enemy fleet was retreating, leaving only wreckage and the bruised glow of the dying star. The station had held for now. Kael tightened his grip on the weapon, then set it down deliberately. I'm not the same man you put in that pod, Lyrana. I can't be. I've lost too much time. But, he hesitated, searching for the words. Maybe that's the point. Maybe I get to be someone new. Someone who doesn't just complain while the universe burns. You were never just that, she said softly. He smirked. Sure, but now I've got proof. I actually hit something with this thing. For the first time since waking, Kael didn't feel like a relic or a leftover. He felt alive. Bruised, confused, sarcastic as ever, but alive. And with Lyrana beside him, maybe that was enough. So what now? He asked, eyeing the battered drones. Do we just wait for the next group of heavily armed maniacs to show up? Or do we find somewhere with less dying stars and more decent food? Lyrana tilted her head. You'd stay? With me? He looked at her for a long moment, then grinned. You kidding? I've been asleep for centuries. I'm not wasting another second. Besides, someone has to stop you from feeding me glowing jelly cubes. Her smile this time was real, unburdened. The drone chimed one last time. Recommendation: departure from stellar orbit within 8 hours to avoid gravitational collapse. Suggested destinations: 3 habitable systems, 1 resort planet with highly rated beaches, and 1 gambling moon with questionable hygiene. Kael stood, stretching sore muscles. Resort planet, huh? Now that's more like it. Come on, waifu abandoned me to save me. Let's see if the future finally figured out how to make real orange juice. And as they walked from the chamber together, the station repairing itself around them, Kael realized something he never thought he would again. He was ready. Ready for the chaos, the danger, the terrible food, and most of all, ready for her. For the first time since opening his eyes, the future didn't feel like a punishment. It felt like a beginning. The end.